Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin Strain coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And I decided to go back north of the border for one of my remaining IMPs that I have left in my stash. I got this from Mike Kreischer, and normally I would pull out his mug, the replacement one for the one that I broke last year, but since I got my new Ration Kitty mug off of the JermsMRE merch store, I had a request to go ahead and show that one off. So this one is his Ration Kitty mug. That is one of the options that are there. So I just brought up the stream on my Kindle so I can look at the chat. So this is honey garlic chicken menu 13. It was packed in 2021. That's how you tell the pack year on these IMPs, is they put the 21 on there. So pop this little tab up, and then you can just pull it across. Oh, usually. There we go. It's actually a good thing that these are fairly difficult to pull off so that they stand up better to handling and transport. So that reveals the Ziploc. First out of here is the hamburger bun. That means my backup plan will wait for another time. A Wonder Bar. That is a very good candy bar. I wish we could get those down here. Nescafe Sweet and Creamy, that will go into there. Got peanut butter. Got strawberry jam to go with the peanut butter. They'll go with the hamburger bun. Sweet and salty almonds. Have not had those before. Got the Canadian beverage bag, which is gusseted, which I will not use because I'm at home. I can save those. Sports drink flavor is the ice, one for the drinking jar, and one for another day. Got a little pack of Tabasco. The first of the 2 retort pouches. This is the honey garlic chicken. Then the other one is the sliced apples. I'm actually going to move this one off to the side because I'll be taking that into the kitchen anyway. And the remaining items, the Canadian paper towel, the spork, which is modeled somewhat after the USMRE spoon. It's actually slightly longer than the previous white long-handled spoon that was in these rations. The last remaining items in here, the little 4-packet of Tic Tacs, which has since been replaced by a single candy that's almost the size of the Canadian mint compressed towel. And the matches, made by Pembroke. And these are the white tip matches. All of these items that I will not be using, I probably will not be adding the Tabasco because I don't think that will be the right flavor profile to mix with the entree, so I'll set that off to the side. I'm going to move the apples and the hamburger bun. That is the powder. These are ones that I like to mix up first because they are a sugar-based drink mix. But these do tend to mix up a lot better than the American ones. I just want to shake it down just to be sure that I'm not going to be sending powder everywhere except into the mug. Got Mike Kreischer here. Got waffles. The Carlos Perry's here. Spicy tuna rolls. Got Prepper for the Ages in the house. That is what the 3-in-1 coffee looks like. I'm going to take this into the kitchen and put this in the hot water, and then I will bring back my kettle that has the water for my coffee, and I'll be right back. I am back. I took the kettle back into the kitchen just to get it out of the way. I just grabbed a bag of the apples. I just want to shake it down, make sure it's down below the tear notch. There's one more piece in there. I'm going to call that good enough. So that is what the apples look like. Oxygen absorber stayed inside of the pouch, along with a bit of it's like a bit of the bun had stuck. Looks like this bun might have had a rough ride. These are not sliced all the way through. That is what it looks like on the inside. I do like the flavor of these buns, especially when they're fresh. That one smells perfectly good. I'm giving both of these packets a bit of a squeeze. I'm just squeezing it down before I cut a corner off. Peanut butter is made in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Thermal Pack did this under contract with a Canadian ration packers. At least for this particular year. It may change from time to time. Now this jam is quite thick. I'm going to call it good for that. Now, sweet and salty almonds. This will be a new one for me. I've never had these from Canadian Ration before. So what they did was they put a glaze on some of them. These will be the sweet ones, and then these are just the roasted and salted. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Wonder Bar. Probably a little bit of the caramel leakage at the one end, but or where it didn't get completely covered by the chocolate. But you can't go wrong with the Wonder Bar. I'm going to give my sports drink another mix, and then I'm going to go back into the kitchen and get the honey garlic chicken. I am back. These pouches sometimes puff up which normally might want to make you think that there's something wrong with it, but that's just normal for these Canadian entrees. I guess just how they pack them. Got a paper towel to dry it off, which I dropped. There. They tend to fall back in on themselves after they've been out of the water for a few minutes. The tear notches on these go across the top. That smells pretty good. I'm definitely catching the sweet scent from the honey. I'm actually going to position it that way. Pretty decent sized pieces of chicken. There's potato. There's red bell pepper. Kind of looks like pulled chicken. That is a chicken all by itself. It's definitely a pulled chicken. I get the sweetness from the honey, a bit of the garlic. There's a piece of the potato. I get that same flavor in the potato. And the potato is actually a tiny bit firmer than you might find in some of these entrees with potato. Of course, these are pretty good sized pieces. Bits of bell pepper are pretty small. The sauce has more of that honey sweetness. There is a bit of the soy sauce. As looking at the ingredients earlier, I'll go ahead and hold that up so I can take a look at that. Not a whole lot of ingredients in there. and which is nice. So it's not super heavy on the stuff that is really not necessary. Thanks for dropping in, Waffles. Even though it has potato in this, I would definitely eat this over rice. Like a jasmine rice. I would definitely enjoy that. Because this has had a few years to sit in the sauce, I think the flavors have kind of permeated more. This might be one of those things that's better for after it's sat a little while. I had a feeling I would probably enjoy it because I like that type of flavor contrast. As far as the Tabasco, I would probably want a different type of hot sauce in there. Sriracha, I would be putting sriracha in this. Not the Tabasco. There's my PB&J. Having that jam in there cuts through the dryness of the peanut butter in the bun. Gonna have a drink of my ice. There is a Gatorade that is almost the same color as this. And I believe there's a Powerade that is similar in color. The flavor might not be the same. I have not had that particular Gatorade flavor in a long time. In fact, I think the last time I had a Gatorade, it was either the orange or the lemon. There's a sweet almond stuck to a salty one. Not too overly sweet. Good contrast with the salt. That's probably, I would say that's a very good pairing with this. And you get more almonds in this than you do when you get almonds in any American ration. Well, that's a nice touch with this. Would have been nice to see more of the red bell pepper in this, but I'm happy there's something in there that's not tan or brown. Earlier I said that I won't have to go to my backup plan because I have been hoping to score a Canadian cornbread because I have had one before. I have an American cornbread. I would like to do a direct comparison. So if this MRE had a Canadian cornbread, I would have taken that out and substituted this Bridgeford flatbread that's already sliced. That would have been my backup plan. But since it has a hamburger bun, that flatbread can wait for another day. And that flatbread is actually pretty good, by the way. It's a good addition to the bread lineup. I would like to see this type of a bun in American rations. Because whatever the Canadians are doing to make this bun the way it is, they're doing it right. I would take that bun, just put it out on the plate, put some instant mashed potatoes in between the two halves, heat up some canned roast beef, and make myself a hot beef sandwich. This would work well too, but I think the bun, the hamburger bun, having its lighter texture, not so dense, would soak up the gravy more. But I would definitely do that. This Ration Kitty mug, I did buy this off of the JermsMRE merch store. I would have liked to get one of those with the lighter color interior, but the black was all that was available that had the Ration Kitty on it. And it is a pretty darn good likeness of his cat. Of course, any reviewer who has a cat here, he may refer to that person's cat as a Ration Kitty. So he called Pumpkin my Ration Kitty. Even though I never give her any of my food. Especially anything with garlic and onion in it. Because like dogs, you don't want to give either of those to a cat. Usually she's attracted to a more pronounced chicken flavor, but she's sleeping like a lazy cat. This has more of the roasted salted almonds than the glazed ones. Which I don't mind. I like the way that these are done. Some of these got a little more dark color on them than some of the others, but these are a good addition. Some of these got more of this glaze on them than others did. I would definitely get this one. This will leave me with one IMP left. I will save that for another month. I'm not sure if I will. I may save that one till after Ramadan. That starts, we're thinking February 18th. So that first Sunday after that, up until through the middle of March, I will not be doing these streams. I will be eating my dinner every night at the mosque, and we put on a feed every night. On average, we feed between 150 and 200. There have been a couple of nights where we have done over 200, and the one few years ago, we fed over 500. That was a logistical undertaking, to say the least. We had several people bring in food from outside to go along with what we had cooked in our kitchen. And because it was still fairly decent outside at the time, people were sitting at the picnic tables that we have outside. We have people in the lobby. Plus everybody who is downstairs. And some people were even in the kitchen. But we managed to pull that off. Because we knew in advance that we would be having to do this, but we got it done. I made triple the amount of mango lassi that we normally serve. And because I was able to do that far enough in advance, that could all chill in the fridge until it was time to serve it. I'm going to take another bite of my PB&J. I would have liked to have the lemon lime drink mixed with this meal instead of the ice, but this is a flavor you'll not find in any American ration. This is the company that makes the drink mixes. Just thought I'd show you that. They're in Mississauga, Ontario. This has salt in it, so you get some electrolyte out of this. I was just looking at the ingredients on the back of here. So you'll get that type of a drink mix in every Canadian ration, unless they have changed those, say, since 24, 25. It would be nice to see some different flavor drink mixes in there. But this ice one is definitely one you will not find in American rations. And this Nescafe Sweet and Creamy is one of my favorite 3-in-1 instant coffees. Not up there with the G7. That other Nescafe 3-in-1 that I got at Hillel Groceries, it's not like the Sweet and Creamy. It's not quite as sweet. It doesn't have as much of that creaminess to it. But it's still a good instant coffee. I just happen to like the G7 just a little bit better. I had some of that last Sunday when I did my birthday dinner special. I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of the Wonder Bar. See, I guess there was a little bit of the caramel leakage, but it's not bloomed. That is a good candy bar. I really do enjoy that. I wish we could get those down here. Same with the coffee crisp. Yeah, sure, I could order them on Amazon, but I think I would get greater pleasure out of going into a store and buying it in person. Plus, I wouldn't have to deal with shipping damage. That box that my 2 Chinese rations came in did take some serious damage. It was actually cut, but because they were wrapped in bubble wrap, those rations were protected. LC is in the house. Thanks for dropping in. This honey garlic chicken is a winner. I would like to eat this over rice, especially jasmine rice. I'll put sriracha in it. This one has a Tabasco, but I would prefer a different hot sauce flavor profile. Plus, I just wanted to eat this completely on its own without putting anything in it. Bits of the red bell pepper. I do like that color in there. Wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of that. LC dropping that super chat. That's much appreciated. Says howdy, Katie. Hope all is well. Sorry for tardiness. YouTube forgot to notify me. Well, that's typical. I don't get notified on a lot of stuff, and lately I will look at my notifications on my tablet screen and they will repeat themselves. After several of them, then the list will just go back up. Part of those notifications will just be repeated. I don't get that. I don't know what's up there. I don't know if that is a glitch. Maybe I need to report it. I don't know if that happens with everybody. But I just might report that as a glitch. See if they will do anything about that. But I am loving this honey garlic chicken. Tim Riley in the house. My Iowa brother. Yeah, we only got up to 10 degrees yesterday. It's 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And I got down to, I think, 6 for our low, 6 Fahrenheit for our low overnight. And I've seen it as high as, let's see, 25? Yep, 25 Fahrenheit was our high today. A little bit of flurries, not too much. I really couldn't see it here. Those are probably just spotty at best. Nope, only going out. I did today was to the dumpster to get rid of what I scooped out of the litter box. That's all I did today was do that. I didn't go off property for any reason. Didn't have a need to. There was a bit of drama on one of the other floors in this building. Someone had left one of the other doors wide open, which allowed people to come into the building who don't belong. Another resident caught him, told him to get out of here or she would call the police. They did leave after trying to lie saying that they lived here, but she knew that they don't. But since we now have cameras, that can record anyone who comes and goes from the building, as well as in the hallways and the laundry room. Now the company that manages the property can look at that footage and take appropriate action. Now, I was watching a video from another Canadian. He had put this up yesterday, but I watched it today. His channel is Food Forest Permaculture. And he is in Eastern Canada, on one of the islands off the coast. And he still has stuff growing in his garden. He showed his garlic plants, and they're looking very, very good. Yeah, middle of January, and that guy up there has had no snow. Meanwhile, someone I know who lives in London, Ontario, has been getting it big time. And because she uses a wheelchair, to get around, other than taking city buses, she doesn't get out much, because you can't drive a power wheelchair and all that stuff, plus cold saps the battery life. tomorrow's supposed to warm up. Well, tomorrow's supposed to be cold again. They're saying like 15 Fahrenheit. Then later in the month, I was looking at the 10-day forecast. We will be in the single digits above 0 Fahrenheit for a high. And then low will have a minus behind the number. That is definitely going to be a cold one. So if I happen to lose power during that time, I can get my backup plans going. I would have to be very sparing with my Coleman green bottles. I have 6 of them, but I could burn through one of those in one day running my Mr. Heater on low. But at least I have that. That's more than what a lot of people have. I have an electric space heater that I brought over from where I used to live before, but it is a watt hog. My Opus 600 wouldn't be able to handle that. Because I'm guessing with the way that thing runs even on low, it's probably burning 1,000 watts. Well, LC doing that again. I'm not sure what that name is supposed to be, but she's asking me to go ahead and put the hot sauce on here. Again, I would want to go with the sriracha, but you know, what the heck. I was going to sit on this one, but I'll have to clean that off. Oops. Well, it just went. Good thing I have this paper towel here. I'll have to move my that stuff was pretty potent. So I didn't get too much of it on there because it just ended up squirting. I had to move my Wonder Bar. that Tabasco just completely overpowers the other flavors. I see a Frenchy Sandy in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Had I got all of that Tabasco in there, probably would have overpowered it even more. As I said earlier, I would have preferred sriracha. Yeah, a lot of people are saying this winter is. Of course, it depends on where you're at. You know, Howie, food forest permaculture has not had any snow. He still has plants growing in his garden. He built a rocket stove out of bricks, and he's going to use the ash from that in his garden. I was just wiping off my little mini scissors here. Yeah, I also prefer the cold over high heat. From my teen years, I was intolerant of heat. And I still am. Of course, being that I'm a Muslim and I dress modestly, fully covered, people automatically assume that I get way too hot, but they fail to take into consideration that it's the style of the clothes that you wear, it's the fabric that it's made of, and sometimes color, but occasionally I will wear something dark in the summer, but it's the fabric and the fit that matter most, and because my arms are fully covered, I actually don't feel as hot because my skin is not getting cooked. Yeah, like I said in one of Gil's lives, and in like on Facebook commenting, or in one of Cold War Preppers lives, this is a weather roller coaster. It's just plain nuts. You know, the temperature swings, and apparently the La Nina phase is going out and the El Nino phase is coming in. So that will change things up. Well, that's actually warmer than what I got mine set at. I got mine set at 64. I do not run any heat whatsoever in my bedroom. The baseboard heaters have never really worked all that great, so I just don't use them. So this thing that you're hearing running, it puts out heat as well as cool, so I don't see the need to have a secondary heater going. Plus, I like my bedroom cooler anyway. I do have my wool blanket spread out on my bed. But that's as far as I will go when it comes to covering up. I can't stand too much weight on top of me. Even when I'm really cold. I got flannel pajamas that I wear. So I figured that's enough. I have a set of, I had a set of flannel sheets, but one of them ripped. And because I have since gone to a much thicker mattress, after my old one just got all messed up, yeah, it needed to be replaced, and one of my sisters got me a thicker mattress. It would have made another bed too high. I think for my great niece. Yeah, along with the box spring that went with it was already making her bed pretty high, so I took the thinner box spring and the thicker mattress, and that's just perfect. So I had to get sheets that accommodate the thicker mattress. Minus 20 would be a bit chilly. It'll probably be like that on that day that we're supposed to be in the single digits for a high that's Fahrenheit. It'll be at a minus double digits Celsius. But I hand washed all of my wool socks. Last Wednesday. And I just hung them up on my shower curtain rod in the bathroom. To let them air dry that way. That is pretty darn warm for January. We actually did set a record high earlier this month. Our record high on that day was 59 degrees Fahrenheit. We ticked up one above that. So we had a record high of 60 degrees Fahrenheit on that day. It's like 15 Celsius, something like that. Yeah. But that's just not normal for me. Even when I was in Arkansas in the mid 80s, we had a lot of ice at some point. Pretty much down to tiny bits of chicken in the broth. I lived on campus when I was attending college down there, so they would cancel classes when there would be ice coming down. Because they're just not equipped for handling snow and ice down there like we are up here. So we would get we would still get our meals in the dining hall. The library would be open, so we could go in there. Or we would pretty much just stay in the dorms, those of us who lived on campus. Thanks for dropping in. For those that are going to be catching this on the replay, this is a 2021 pack. Menu 13. It's a good one. I would definitely recommend it. Even though they put Tabasco in here, and I would prefer a different hot sauce. I think the bottle would have been easier to get it out of than that packet. That thing just exploded on me. I got a little bit of it on here. That Wonder Bar, I definitely wish we could get these down here. I think my favorite IMP so far was a turkey and orange sauce. Unfortunately, from what I heard, that menu got replaced by something else. That was one of the paper bag IMPs. I think that was like 2017, 2016 maybe I had. Last time I had one of those. Or maybe the only time. The Indian chicken was not too bad. But the turkey and orange sauce, that's one of my favorites. Well, there's a lot of good Canadian YouTubers doing some awesome stuff. I would like to see CT come back on, do a little something. There are some awesome Canadian outdoor channels. That I enjoy watching. There's a glazed almond stuck to a roasted and salted one. Not on the apples, no. It kind of sprayed to the left. I got a little bit of it on my Wonder Bar, so that's why I moved it over here. Like there's a little dribble of it. Actually, might not be able to see that. Right above my finger. That's where a little dribble of the hot sauce landed. Got a tiny bit on the Wonder Bar, but because it sprayed that way and not that way, I didn't get any on my apples. And speaking of, a not real sweet apple, a bit soft but still holding their shape and their texture. So they held up pretty good. Actually, there is a spice blend that some people like to put on their fruit. You get mixed fruit and you put, there's a spice mix called, I pronounce it tajin. Some may pronounce it tajin, Tajin. It's kind of the powder is kind of the color of Tabasco, maybe a little bit lighter shade. But there are some other fruit masalas. You find those in Middle Eastern stores. So it's a sweet and spicy blend. It's similar to what you might find when you get tamarind candy. It's a similar profile to that. You might find those in Hispanic grocery stores. That usually has some kind of a chili blend. But both of those are really good. You just don't want to go overboard with it, then you lose the flavor of whatever you put it on. Yeah, that tahine is a good choice. You can use it on savory. That's primarily where I would personally use it. But next time I'm in Hillel Groceries, I'm going to find a fruit masala. I'll take a picture of that and I'll toss that up on a community post. But the tahine you can find in a larger variety of stores. Peach holds up to something like that. These apples, probably not. You'd want something a little bit milder. But if you put it on pineapple, mango, it's really good on mango. Especially if you get the fruit masala. You put that stuff on mango or pineapple. Now that's good. Munch on some more of these almonds. I think I've seen a couple of different versions of the tahine. I think there's a liquid sauce as well as a spice blend, the powder. I never tried the actual sauce. I've only had the one flavor of the powder. But the fruit masala, the one that I have seen is made by Shan. That company makes a lot of spice blends for different kinds of biryani, for different meats, some for just vegetables, but of course you can use those on pretty much anything you want. You don't have to stick by the rules, so to speak, with those. But that company makes probably about 40 different blends. Different curry blends. It's only as spicy as you make it, depending on how much you put on. You just want enough just to know it's there. It's one of those times where you can have too much of a good thing. Now, if you had some shaved chocolate on that meringue, that would be good. That would go perfect with the strawberry. Strawberry jam on the bun. A really thick jam. Yeah, I remember helping my mom make it. You got to be very precise with it. Otherwise, it's just going to flop. But when it's done right, and you put some awesome stuff with it, that's dessert heaven. Yeah. I remember times when my mom would try to make a meringue, and sometimes the egg whites would not cooperate. I had no idea if they were too warm or too cold. You know, she just didn't get enough air into them or what, but yeah, she had a few meringue breaks, but she somehow tried to make it work. I wouldn't have any idea if it makes a difference whether the eggs would be from a store and have been sitting a while, or if they would be fresh out of the bird. The eggs that I bought from a local, well, somewhat local, going through the sister of the woman who raises those chickens. Yeah, they came straight from her chickens no sitting in a store. Oh, speaking of stealing sugar, well, not exactly stealing. A couple years ago, one of the containers that we have at the mosque that was specific for sugar, someone put salt in it. And then when another person went to get into that one to put sugar into something she was making, yeah. She was actually making a sweet hot tea. She thought she was putting sugar in it because she was fasting. She couldn't taste it just to make sure. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. Fortunately, there was enough time where she could start another batch, and she had extra tea and milk. But I had to go find another sugar container. Make sure that one was labeled. Yeah, that was not good. And we never used to try to hide things like sugar from my mom. We were more into like trying to get too much a taste of a batter before she was ready to put it down into the pan for baking. Or if we had frosting to put on something, we wanted to skip the cake or the cookie and just go after the frosting. That's what we wanted to do. Of course, if we were good little brats, and when she was done, then we got to elect the bowl or the beaters or a spoon or spatula or whatever. And of course, if they're chocolate chips, we would try to get all those. That was another thing we were notorious for trying to do. And we like to take the hot cocoa mix packets You'd say, the heck with the water. You'd just eat that stuff right out of the packet. We did a little bit of that. Of course, that never did beat out trying to get a cookie right out of the oven as she was putting them on the cooling rack. Shadow Scout Sweet in the house already Monday morning, and his little piece of Sweden. And over there, he's got a lot of snow to deal with. That video that he did of the last round of snow that he got, yeah, that looked like it was going to be something to dig yourself out of. All we got here today was flurries. At least the wind hasn't been as mean as it was a couple of days ago. We didn't get a whole lot of snow out of that, but the wind was mean that they had to put high wind warnings up. Wow, yeah. That's a lot of snow. We haven't had that much snow here for quite some time. At least a few years since we had that much. It's actually quite rare for us to get that much snow here. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot today either. I refreshed Pumpkin's water bowl. I took care of the litter box. Took her crap out to the dumpster. And just watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I was supposed to go somewhere yesterday, but because it was so dang cold, and because several in the group have been sick, we decided to postpone that. And I had already prepared my dessert, but I should be able to put them in the freezer. All I did was take that Nutella copy that I picked up at Hill Out Groceries, and I spread it on some of the ladyfingers that I had picked up, I think in November. That package had 4 inner packages with 12 each, so I put that stuff on 24 of them, and then I put them in the fridge to kind of harden up, and I layered them with parchment, and I put them inside of a plastic container that held dates in it. Yeah, this is a good one. This honey garlic chicken. I just finished off the hamburger bun that I put the peanut butter and the strawberry jam on it. This candy bar is called a Wonder Bar. That's what it looks like on the inside. There's not much of that left. Got the almonds. Some were just roasted and salted. Others have a glaze on them. This is like a Gatorade type sports drink. You get 2 of these in the Canadian IMP or individual meal pack. So save this one for another day. And the Nescafe Sweet and Creamy in my new Ration Kitty mug that I got off of the JermsMRE merch store. I'm still hoping to find another foreign MRE mug to replace the one that broke. I have the mug, the handle broke off, but the mug has cracks in it, so it will no longer hold a liquid. So I can't use that for drinks anymore. I'm hoping to find another one because I would like to have that one back again. But I do not know of anyone who has either an extra one that they would be willing to part with, or who just wants to offer to send me one or sell me one. I haven't scored on that yet, but I would like to have another one of those to replace the one that broke. And then I'll get rid of that one that can no longer hold a liquid. But this drinking jar is a replacement for one that I broke years ago when I did hot chocolate in it. Yeah, that one took one too many hot drinks in it and it cracked. I was able to salvage probably 2/3 of that cocoa. That one my mom had given me years earlier, but I just don't have the heart to tell her that I broke that one and had bought a replacement. It's a different design than the one that she gave me. This one is ball branded, but it's pretty much the same style, just a different company that made it. but it's different. And not everybody uses a drinking jar, so I figured I got one, I'm going to use it. The glaze on those almonds is not too sweet, just enough to complement the saltiness. Now, these apples are still pretty nice considering how long they've been in the pouch. Yeah, the American apples are usually this. They taste like apple pie filling. You just don't have a crust, but you put a little spice mix in here that you put in apple pie. These would be real good. Yes, I will go after that juice or syrup later. I'm going back to the Wonder Bar. At one time I did a comparison between this and a Butterfinger. Definitely different texture and flavor on the inside, because this has caramel in it, whereas a Butterfinger inside is closer to like a butterscotch flavor. I wish we could get these bars down here, because I would buy them. Same with the coffee crisp. I wish we could get the coffee crisp down here. Of course, I've had a few of the Tim Tam bars from Australia. I have seen those on Amazon, but that's a pretty expensive treat. Maybe one of these days I'll get a pack of them. There are some bars that, some candy bars that I can pick up in Hill Out Groceries that I don't see in most other stores, so maybe once in a while I'll pick up one of those. Actually put some in, I think I sent a couple of them to Smokey when I put together a custom ration for him. And when I did a trade of some MREs for, I think I'd gotten a couple of Spanish rations or whatever I did that trade. I put in a bottle of a hot sauce that is made here in Iowa, and I put in a couple of the twin bings that are made here in Iowa, and some Amana beef jerky as surprise box fillers. Now he opened that box and went straight for the beef jerky. That didn't even make it on camera. And he's already using the hot sauce on some ribs. Yeah, Big Daddy, who I actually got to know personally because when I was working at a local Walgreens, he used to come in the store just probably about 10 minutes before close. He would come in to pick up a few things, and or sometimes not even buy anything, just to greet us before he went home. But he was a big deal in the local barbecue scene. His restaurant is no longer open, but his children kept the sauce recipes, and they have the sauce made, and it's sold in local stores here. So I sent one of those bottles in that box. Yeah, every time he came into the Walgreens, even if he had a hard day at work, he still had that big smile on his face, and that's what we all liked about him. Plus, he was always giving food out at Thanksgiving. He would organize and cook Thanksgiving dinners to be given out to homeless people or people who had no one to be with. And I think he did Christmas dinners as well. But that guy had a heart as big as a city block. Of course, I have some of that sauce in my own stash. Well, that's awesome that you got to be an unofficial taste tester. And no doubt he valued your opinion. Yeah. Yeah, except you didn't get the crap beat out of you. You just got your taste buds exploded. Just one of those people, just a once in a lifetime to get to know. Yeah, you got to have that flavor. I'm like that. I like spice, but it's got to have flavor, not just fire. So I don't eat a whole lot of really spicy food. I have to be careful of how much I eat. Even though I take a prescription for the acid reflux. So it's definitely a good thing I didn't end up with all of that Tabasco in what I had left of my chicken. As, as Tabasco ages, it gets hotter. I guess that little packet was under pressure, and that's why it sprayed like it did. Yep, I've had to back off. My mom is the same way. She loves her horseradish, but she doesn't eat as much of it as she used to. It's a special treat for her when she gets into that. Yep, she turned 82 this past October. And we had gone out to a restaurant in Norwalk. I had never been to it before. My younger nephew and his wife paid for all of our dinners. My mom had a Bloody Mary. And because it was her birthday, our server brought her a mini key lime dessert. And then a few of us had gifts for her. We gave her those. And for those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, you saw that picture of my mom and I sitting next to each other, and she had that little birthday crown on her head. Yeah, it's called Mullets. That's the one in Norwalk, is called Mullets. And they have their metal tumblers, which kind of reminds me of Klingon tankards. They drink their blood wine from. But they had their logo on it. And then they had the mugs, coffee mugs you could get with their logo on it. You could buy those. Yeah, there are not very many people in there when we got in there, so it made it easy for us to get my mom situated. She had her right arm all immobilized because she cracked several bones in her wrist and in one of her fingers on her right hand, so she had to do everything left-handed for a while. And because she couldn't put any pressure or weight on it at that time, instead of using her walker, she used her transport wheelchair, and then someone just pushed her into the building, and she just sat in that. Yeah, her mobility has not been all that great over the past few years. But she had that transport chair because when her mother died, that's when she got it. For helping her mother get around in her final years. Then after she died, she kept it, and my late dad used it when he was getting really weak before he was taken to a local hospice house for his final night with us. And so now she uses it herself. And the walker that she has was actually one that was found by my sister's now late husband, who just died from cancer earlier this month. So in November, she lost her father-in-law to cancer. And a couple years earlier, her mother-in-law died from cancer. So yeah, cancer kind of runs in that family. And one of her husband's siblings also battled cancer. but is still with us. So anyway, he found that walker that she now uses, fixed it up, and that's how she moves around her apartment. Yeah, I like lamb. I've never had as a lamb burger. I have had ground lamb before, but I usually just leave it loose. I don't form it into a patty, and I just put other things with it. But because I do like lamb, I know I'd like a lamb burger. Yeah, we went to the Mullets in Norwalk instead of the one by the ballpark. Yeah, I would probably put a little bit of a tiny bit of curry in the meat, not too much. Or I would probably put like cumin or coriander in it. Or I have those soup mixes that I bought. One is the beef soup mix. The other is the chicken one that a lot of people like to put into meatloaf or put into burgers. Not just put it in water and turn it into a soup. I would probably put one of the beef soup mixes into the ground lamb. That would be one way I would do it. Just finished off the ice drink. I think Purple for the Ages likes that idea. And make little sliders instead of the bigger size burger. I have those Hawaiian style buns, which are about half the size of your normal hamburger bun or dinner roll. Those are slider size. I think anyone who wants that recipe would probably love to have it. I think I do have 1 pound of ground lamb somewhere in my freezer, unless I've already used it. I got ground chicken, I got ground turkey, I got ground beef. I never did get any deer meat from a relative or an in-law who hunts, but instead of keeping the meat for himself, he always wants to share it with other people because he actually doesn't like the taste of it, but he likes to share. You know, he gets he gets a deer, he'll have it processed, and he'll give it all away. But apparently hunting was not too successful. Oh, I used to watch Pioneer Woman on Food Network when I had TV service. I never did try to go after any of her recipes. I just enjoyed watching her do her thing. But there are probably, uh, I know she's got cookbooks out. Oh, yeah, I'm subscribed to his channel. The outdoor cooking. That's the best. You know, I like it when you use cast iron over the fire. I've only done that with one of my cast iron pieces. That was my little 6-inch skillet I'd taken to a group camp. My other two cast iron pieces were acquired much later than that. I've used my pot on my stove a few times. My oval skillet I have not actually cooked on yet. I do want to get a larger cast iron skillet, but that's not on my list of high priorities right now. But yeah, Kent Rollins. Yep, he does good stuff on his channel. So I would definitely recommend his channel. And when Tack from AOK Foraging and Adventures, when she does some of her cooking, she prefers cast iron also. And when she camps, depending on where she's going and whether she's got a hike in or she takes her truck to the spot, then she may take lighter stuff. But if she if she has her vehicle nearby, then she'll probably have at least her cast iron skillet. At the one group camp I went to years ago, there was this couple that brought 13 pieces of their cast iron collection. They do cooking for reenactments. or like the Renaissance Fair or something like that. Any event that where she is trying to be period correct, she will only take her cast iron cookware, and she may take more than those 13 pieces that we got to see. Because those were not the extent of their collection. They probably have double, if not more, and probably bigger pieces, especially when you're cooking for a larger group than what she was doing. And she had 2 of her Dutch ovens where she made chocolate cherry cake. And then we had venison fry bread tacos. And I got to cook my beef bacon on one of her griddles. Oh, I loved Yan Can cook. He was so much fun to watch. He's the one who got me interested in Asian cuisine. And he was not only doing Chinese, he was doing stuff from other Asian countries, even though he was Chinese. But the way he could get stuff going in that wok and have it done so fast. That just floored you. Of course, I also had to watch Justin Wilson. And on PBS had America's Test Kitchen. I watched that a lot too. I found that one pretty interesting. And of course, had to watch Julia Child. Don't make them like that anymore. I wish it would have been in Fong's Pizza when Andrew Zimmern was here doing his Bizarre Foods show. Yeah, he went into Fong's Pizza. I did watch that episode, but I think it would have been more fun to actually be there when he was there for that video shoot. Oh, finished off the coffee. There is the Ration Kitty. Yeah, that's another blatant plug for JermsMRE. Yeah, he did. But he made it so enjoyable to watch. I'd never heard of the Try Guys. I did watch the show where these two guys were chasing the heat. They were intentionally going after places that had extremely spicy food, and they're both going after the hottest of the hot in those places. Now, I don't have any of her cookbooks. I'm sure they're still available on various websites. Yeah, she has been gone for quite a few years. Could find them on eBay or secondhand booksellers. Yeah, it probably is, depending on when it was published, probably the theme of it, maybe whether it was a first printing or a later printing. Yeah, and she probably used food to get into things that she others probably wouldn't have been able to get into. If you remember Hogan's Heroes, LeBeau, he was always bribing Schultz with food. And it usually worked. I don't doubt it. And if that's just a current bid, who knows? It could go even higher if you get into a bidding war over it. Wow. I don't have too many cookbooks. I do want to get some more. I have a Polish one. I have a Middle Eastern one. I bought an English version of a Mexican cookbook when I was in Guadalajara, but I gave that one to my mom. I have a couple of like self-published ones that different organizations had done. We we're gonna try to do one at my mosque, but we never got too many recipe submissions. I was going to submit some recipes to it, but that never panned out. Maybe that's an idea we could try again as a fundraiser. Yeah, my high school had a cookbook that we had put together. I put it in a couple of recipes that I got from my mom. I still have those recipes written down on paper as well. Of course, I had upsized two of them because I made enough for 250 servings for an international food fair that I took part in back in the 90s. Yeah, you'll find a lot of those in thrift stores. In fact, a Middle Eastern cookbook the one that I do have, actually came from a thrift store. The Polish one actually got off eBay. I wouldn't mind adding a few more to my collection. Because that's something that will come in handy down the road should things go sideways and we don't have the internet available to either search recipes and download them or to order books online. You know, when we have to rely on our food storage, yeah, we're going to need to be able to mix things up a bit. Try different combinations of ingredients. I think ones that my mom and my oldest sister have. My mom's oldest one, I think, is from the 70s. And then my oldest sister has one, I think, from the 80s. I actually do not own any of those myself. But I have always enjoyed looking through the one that my mom has. And she would stick her own recipes in there that she would either write down herself or she got from other people and would just stick them in there. She might use that recipe as a bookmark for something, or say if it's for a casserole, she would stick it in the casserole section of that book. She used to, that's how she has hers done, is she just tucks other recipes inside that one. Yeah, my mom has the red or pink one, whatever color that is. The one my sister has is red. But my mom has the 3-ring binder version. Whereas the one my sister has is a spiral. I think next time I go to a thrift store, who knows when that'll be, I may just go to the book section and look at all the cookbooks and see if there are any that I would like to add to the few that I already have. Oh yeah, that's probably why I've never seen a pink one, because the ones that my mom and my sisters have are red. I didn't know that they had done a pink cover, which is pretty darn awesome. Of course, the ones with the older recipes are probably the better recipes anyway. I might have gotten a Spanish language cookbook when I was in Mexico for myself. I just know I got an English one I wanted to get from my mom. So I gave it to her after I got back. Whereas the 2 silver-plated wine goblets that I had engraved, I had those hid until their happened to be their 25th anniversary in '86 when I was down there. So I had those things hid from, I came back on July 4th. How odd. And I had those hid until the anniversary party in October. So oddly enough, the last place I looked, about 3 days before I was due to come back to the U.S., I found this silver shop that was the closest to the house that I was staying in. I was talking to the lady in Spanish about what I was looking for and what I wanted to do, and then all of a sudden she starts talking in English. Turns out she was an expat who had been living there with her husband for a few decades, and she opened up this silver shop in a hotel, and she had 2 of these silver-plated wine goblets. And I asked if they could be engraved. So I paid for them and the engraving. And then about 3 days before I was due to leave, I went back there, picked them up, brought them home, had them hid. I told him, yeah, I'm gonna bring something silver. I just don't know. They're kind of asking, what are you gonna bring? I don't know. I won't know until I find it. And then I sprung those things on them. I tied a ribbon around the stem when we were setting up for the party. Some other relatives had my parents occupied while we were setting up the room. And they literally picked their jaws up off the floor. Said, yeah, this is what I had hid from you from the time I got back from Mexico until today. My mom still has those. She does not display them. She keeps them in a box. But she still has them. Yep. And some of the prep methods, their descriptions change over the years. I did find a small cookbook that was published in the 70s. So that one is in my stash. I found that in a thrift store. Yeah, someone on a motorcycle went by. My slider's closed, so if it was open, it would have been a whole lot louder. Of course, my heater cycled off. I don't know if you heard that or not, but just thought I would explain that noise. Of course, speaking of ingredients, I like this small number of ingredients that was on the pouch that the honey garlic chicken was in. Not a whole lot of synthetic chemical sounding stuff. Nope, that was actually someone riding a motorcycle up my street. Wouldn't have figured anybody would be riding a motorcycle in the middle of January. Of course, the streets aren't too bad, they're just wet. We haven't gotten a whole lot of snow. It covers the grass and parking lots. I don't think our plow guy is gonna come scrape our parking lot and driveways. There may not be enough snow to bother with that, but then who knows? He may come and do it during the night. Not enough snow to run a snowblower. Yeah, I suppose for some people, it may be a backup plan if their main vehicles is not working or they just don't have another one. Or it could have been one of those scooters. It may not have been a motorcycle at all. I have no way of knowing because my blind is closed. And it could have been one of those scooters. Too loud to be an e-bike. Yeah, I got up to, I was like more than twice as warm today as it was yesterday. Tomorrow it's supposed to be like 15 Fahrenheit if we make it up that far. Got colder last night than it was originally forecasted to. That is just plain nuts. And with it cold up there, down here, some nuthead like that would get arrested for indecent exposure. Yeah, that is just nuts. I did see a guy at the Dart bus station when it was cold and windy. He had shorts on. And not wearing shorts over long johns or leggings or anything like that. His knees are bare. And I was kind of wondering if that guy was not sensitive to the cold, or if he just hadn't done any laundry for a long time, or what was up with wearing shorts when it was cold and windy outside. Now, this YouTuber down in Texas, he recently started posting videos again. Drop Forge Survival. He's in Texas. He wears shorts in the cooler months, but not like that where he wears shorts every single day, no matter what the weather. But he's one of those guys who can probably get away with wearing shorts for a good part of the year. That guy definitely had to be dealt with. Yeah, put a permanent no trespass order on a scumbag like that. Yeah, that's the kind of area I wouldn't want to hang out in during the day unless I absolutely had no choice but to go there. In the last couple of places I've lived before locks got put on the doors, there would be homeless people coming in, sleeping in the stairwells, and if they could get in the one building, you had to hit a code on the hallway door to get through the hallway, and if a homeless person managed to figure out that code, they'd go in the laundry room. But more often than not, they'd be in the stairwells. And sometimes you would smell something that just should not be in the stairwell, and had to report that on a few occasions. Of course, today, as I said earlier, we had some drama with some people who should not even be on the property were let in because someone left the door wide open. But another resident managed to chase them off, tell them to get out of here or she would call the police. But now that we have working cameras in the hallways, the laundry room, and on the outside of the building, they're now on video. So the company that manages the property will know about it, and they'll be able to take appropriate action. Yeah, Mike, you're being silly. You know he couldn't resist that. Yeah, need to kick the autocorrect to the curb. If there was a way that I can disable it, I usually do. Somewhere in your device's keyboard settings, if you're on a phone or tablet, or some other way if you're on a computer. There should be a way to disable that thing. Because I used to have issues with it wanting to change my first name and wanting to change the city name. Oh, speaking of shenanigans, she showed up in my birthday stream last Sunday. It was good to see her in the chat. Yeah, there you go. I would enjoy Rubens too, but I'll just say that I have a problem with sauerkraut. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I can eat kimchi, but which is kind of weird, but anyway. Well, when you're out camping in cold weather, you do want to eat something before you go to bed. You want to have a hot drink before you go to bed because that keeps you warmer during the night. Uh, Ooh, I might have to try that. But it's been so long since I had a version of a Reuben. I would never thought of having kimchi for breakfast, but I suppose for some people that's probably a normal thing. You know, when we had a place here called the Korea House, no matter what else I ordered off the menu, I got a bowl of their kimchi. Yeah, the kimchi with the fried rice, that does sound like it would be good. I'm pretty sure some of the dishes I had at the Korea House had rice in it. I just never thought of mixing the kimchi in with the rice. If only I had kimchi to go with that Korean entree that I had last Sunday. Closest thing to that probably would have been some pickled veggies from Chinese rations. Never had a tofu stew. I've usually just had it fried. Yeah, tofu is, it's like rice. It's such a blank thing that it'll take on whatever flavor you put it in or put into it. You can get it hard, you can get it soft. You usually buy it in blocks that you can freeze. In fact, I have some in my freezer. I had more, but when my when the original fridge that I had here, when it crapped out, I just tossed everything that was in there. Well, mostly everything. I think there are a couple of things that I kept. That would otherwise not have spoiled immediately. Like I had meat in my freezer. I had blocks of cream cheese in there. Yeah, I got rid of. I mean, I kept everything in there while I waited to see if a repair would work. I wanted to see if the stuff inside would refreeze. But because that didn't work, the management company said, "Nope, you're getting a new fridge." So This one happens to be just a bit bigger. They're originally going to get a bigger one, but it would not have fit into the space that the old fridge did fit into. This one is a little bit wider and a bit taller. So the guys were just barely able to get it into place, and then they had to reverse the door. Well, Elsie dropping another super chat. Well, thanks for dropping in. I'm probably going to go ahead and call this one done anyway. Well, that's awesome that you're getting those replaced. Eventually, I will probably have to get my stove replaced because the oven doesn't work, two of the burners don't work, the clock doesn't work. But I can still use two burners, so the oven is basically pot storage. I mean, I only need two burners anyway. Although it would have been nice to have the bigger one. And the fact that it shuts off after an hour means no canning. Oh, that's different. But I guess air fryers are the in thing to have. I don't have one. I don't have the space for one. I think my Instant Pot might be able to do the air fryer thing, but I'll play with that another time. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. Of course, I'll probably be offline by the time Shadow gets back. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But I do want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight for some good chicken dinner. Yep, that one's a winner. If you haven't tried this menu, I would definitely get it. The next time I do get it, I think I will put something on there other than the Tabasco. I would put some sriracha on it. But next week I'll probably pull out one of my USMREs. I think I'll probably pull one of my new Chinese ones next month before Ramadan, and then the others I'll save till after Ramadan. I'll save the Dutch one for after Ramadan, for sure, because that is going to take maybe 3 Sundays to go through all of that. I think that is going to be an enjoyable one. I'm looking forward to digging into that big bag of awesomeness. So come back next Sunday to see what I pull out of my ration stash. Thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.